Hey, I'm back. Using the same angle from the phone mount on the selfie stick on the tripod. Uh, although it is a pretty good angle from where I'm looking. Anyways, let's move on. Yes, last night I saw another movie, which was Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. Yeah, interesting week for superhero movies, isn't it? So I guess I should probably go into my history with this book series. Uh, as a kid, I did grow up reading Captain Underpants, at least up until it went on hiatus because the author had to take care of his father after he got terminally ill, which I know how that is. It's not the best. But I read them, and I found a great deal of enjoyment with them. It's like they were a bit, yeah, they're a bit juvenile looking back, but then again, what do you expect with a book series called Captain Underpants? uh, and seeing how they were trying, seeing this film, it's interesting because they've been trying to get a Captain Underpants movie going since, I believe, since the first book came out. Because I remember reading up some kind of article about how one of the original plans to adapt this popular kids book was they were originally going to have Chris Farley in the title role, which would have been interesting. Although, God, when did that book come out? Never mind. Um, but yeah, when I heard they were going to be doing an animated movie, it's like perfect. That can work great. And DreamWorks Animation, I've already talked about briefly that it's hit or miss depending on who they've got helming it and who they've got to write for it and how it's gonna do. And if I may, the trailers at first when I saw this movie, I was like, it's like I forgot this film was coming out, and at the same time, I was also, every time I saw him, I'm like, the voice acting that I was hearing was a little bit distracting, so yeah, I was a little bit skeptical about it. But if I may say so, I thought it was actually pretty good. Yeah, because it was interesting. Cause, where to begin? Well, for starters, the animation is it's good. I know from the trailers that it was really it was an interesting choice to try and adapt the style, the art design of the books and make it into 3-dimensional. But it manages to work. There's a lot of really interesting what's the term I'm looking for? Animated camera work, I should say. But they do get some interesting shots and rotoscoping. Just as the kind of it feels like fluent movement. It was kind of reminding me of some of the visuals and what was it? Megamind, with the flying things and all that other stuff. It's it feels really smooth, and it was really surprising because this is actually from what I was looking at. Here, let me just get it up. Yeah, this is apparently DreamWorks' lowest budget film since I believe Ants. I believe, yeah, because it's I believe Ants was on a. I know in the 90s Ants was on a $40 to $60 million budget, but this one was on 38, and that's not counting marketing, but it was really interesting because it definitely looked a lot better than some of the other films that uh, well, I can't say it's up to the quality of, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, or Rise of the Guardians, but, just for a film that's like, you know, in this day and age, technically low budget, it's definitely a lot better looking than some of their other films where it's like over $100 million. Uh, like, I was actually really surprised by that. Like, and even then, I definitely say it's some of the. You know what it is? It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Peanuts movie when Blue Sky Studios did the Peanuts movie. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Just like that kind of, not say like it's exact. It's like the exact kind. Like they're both the same thing, but it's like, and you could also, but it's like it has a. What is it? It has that same kind of flair to it. Like, they try to make the best with as minimal as they can go with. And plus, when you do look at the art style of the books and, of course, this movie, you can tell, like, there's a hint of Peanuts inspiration in terms of, like, the looks of characters, especially in the eyes. But yeah, and I was really impressed with it because, the one thing you'll notice with this movie is that if, as someone who read the books, it's kind of like an adaptation of the first four books put into one because it's got the first book was the origin of Captain Underpants. The second book involved a giant talking toilet monster. Stay with me. The third one involved. I know this is technically going into spoilers, but the third book involved Captain Underpants getting superpowers, like actual superpowers. And the fourth book, of course, has the villain, who is the villain in this movie, Professor Poopy Pants. Yeah, and yeah, I know you're thinking, like, this sounds incredibly childish, and you're not wrong. It is a very juvenile movie. But to me, that's unlike a lot of other, kids movies that try to do, like, toilet humor and stuff like that. This film knows what it does. It knows what it is. It knows it's a very juvenile kids movie, but it does it well. Like, it's like it knows it's a really dumb film that, fourth grader, elementary school kids are probably going to enjoy. And they're right. It's like, but it does it really well. Like, there are some really, really funny visual gags. Like, there's one scene where it's like George and Harold figure out how to turn Krupp from into Captain Underpants and back, and it's like they just go into this little moment where they're just like they're constantly having him go back and forth. And just some of the visual work in this is just it just had me laughing my head off. Like, it's like 1 minute it's like he's back as Krupp and he's answering the phone, and it's like another one will just have him just like snap into the mouthpiece, and it's like, oh, back there again. Yeah, that and Ed Helms as he plays the Captain Underpants and Mr. Krupp, and he does a really good job voice wise. Like, you really do get into the transition of when he goes from mean old principal into like this majestic superhero, this Mighty Mouse kind of persona. It's really funny. And Nick Kroll as the villain. Uh, can we just have Nick Kroll just play a lot more animated villains, because he really does a good job in this. He plays he does play Professor Poopy Pants, and he just it's just he just knows the kind of character this is, but just decides to go with it. It kind of reminded me of a lot of of his performance as the douche in Sausage Party. And I will say, I was a bit skeptical with Kevin Hart and Thomas Middleditch. Is that how you say it? Middleditch. Yeah, I was a bit skeptical about those two playing George and Harold, but as you watch the film, they're not that bad. I actually got really good enjoyment out of them. It's definitely the better Kevin Hart animated film that I've seen, because the last one was I believe Secret Life of Pets. Was that it? I think that was it. But yeah, they because when I saw the trailer, it's like, these don't sound like kids, but after a while, it's like I kind of forgot about that. It's like as you get into it, it's like it's like they kind of leave your mind, and it's just like you're focusing on George and Harold. So props to them. Jordan Peele, I thought I was also good as the child prodigy that is like the biggest kiss ass to Mr. Krupp, and later on the villain. And a while, it's like it took me a while to recognize that was Jordan Peele, but props on him for that. If there is anything that I didn't like, it's that while it does mainly focus on comedy, it's like that it when it does try to get pretty dramatic, it kind of doesn't. It falls flat a bit, and also aside from Mr. Krupp and Professor P, it's like there really isn't. There really aren't any other adult characters that you get invested in, aside from Kristen Schaal, who plays the shy lunch lady who becomes Mr. Krupp's love interest. Which I don't know if she appeared in the books, but it could be like maybe she appeared in the ones later on, but I for the life of me couldn't remember. But yeah, it's like it's pretty much just like a plot device character, honestly, or just someone to have, to be there. Which is kind of a shame, because Kristen Schaal is so funny and is one of the best, definitely one of the best comedic voice actors working today. I mean, Bob's Burgers, Gravity Falls, those two shows she is absolutely hilarious with. And if you haven't seen either of those shows, go check them out. Especially Gravity Falls. Like, that show is amazing. What else was there? Yeah, I think there's not much else I could say. If you got kids, go see it. Or if you grew up with the books, definitely give it a watch. It's definitely one of the better kids movies that I've seen so far. I mean, it's not it's not like one of DreamWorks' best or anything like that, but it's like, if you're looking for something that's like really just juvenile fun, then it's like, go for it. And Plus, it's not even that long a set. Like, I believe it was like an hour and 30 minutes, I believe. Like, or I believe it was less than that. I don't know. But it's a quick set. Like, if you can, give it a watch. Alright, I think that's all I got to say, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.